work hard. You follow the rules. You do what's expected of you. And yet time and time again, you're overlooked. You've seen how it works. Someone rises up the ranks not because they're exceptional at their job, but because they know how to charm the right people. Someone else receives praise not for the effort they put in, but because they said the right thing to the right person at the right moment. And there you are, playing fair, being honest, trusting that systems reward merit, and still nothing changes. Let's make this clear from the start. You're not falling behind because you're incompetent. You're not struggling because you lack intelligence. You're being outmaneuvered because you're engaged in a game you don't even realize you're playing. This is a game where politics beats performance, where perception outweighs integrity, where it's not the wisest who command attention, but the loudest. And yes, it's maddening. It's exhausting. It goes against everything you were raised to believe, that effort pays off, that honesty is strength, that virtue will win out in the end. But Machiavelli, the man whose name became synonymous with cunning and strategy, would offer you a harsh but necessary truth. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards power. He wouldn't pat you on the back for holding fast to your principles. He'd tell you those principles are a luxury, something you can only afford once you've secured your place, not before. In his writing, particularly in The Prince, he warned a man who tries to be good in all things will inevitably be ruined among so many who are not good. In other words, insisting on morality in a world that isn't moral makes you a target, not a victor. That's not to say kindness is weakness or honesty is wrong, but goodness without strategy is a recipe for failure. You may be honest, but naive. Kind, but predictable. Principled, but powerless. This is why those who know how to bend the rules often outpace those who cling to them. If you look closely, you'll notice that some of the most successful people aren't necessarily the most talented, they're simply the most adaptable. They know when to smile, when to flatter, when to tell people what they want to hear. Not because it's true, but because it opens doors. You might call it fake. They call it survival. While you sit there wondering, why can't people see my value? They're busy ensuring they appear valuable whether they are or not. Machiavelli wasn't advocating cruelty for its own sake. He was pointing out reality. The world doesn't turn on truth. It turns on perception. Power doesn't gravitate towards the pure-hearted. It gravitates toward those who understand how people operate and use that understanding to shape outcomes. And here's the brutal part. Even if you are more skilled, more capable, more deserving, if you refuse to engage in the political game, you will be passed over by those who do. You'll sit there feeling bitter, undervalued, and broke, while someone else reaps rewards for work they didn't even do. That's the hard truth. If you're losing despite doing everything right, then maybe right isn't the winning strategy here. So what now? You either wait hoping the world will somehow correct itself, or you learn how to play the game better. Machiavelli's most controversial lesson is this: morality isn't discarded, it's repositioned. It's not your foundation, it's your disguise. You've been told your whole life, be kind, be honest, be good, and good things will come. But what if that belief is the real deception? Machiavelli never said you should seek to become cruel. He never said you should harm for the sake of it. What he did say, and what people have spent centuries trying to ignore, is that your moral code is meaningless if it leads you to ruin. To him, the notion that goodness leads naturally to success wasn't noble, it was naive. In The Prince, he doesn't waste time dressing the world up as fair or just. He describes it for what it is: chaotic, ruthless, full of people who will smile to your face while they sharpen knives behind your back. In such a world, survival, let alone victory, requires more than just virtue. That's why he wrote, "It is not necessary for a prince to possess all the good qualities, but it is very necessary to appear to have them." Let that settle. You don't need to be good. You just need to look good when it matters. According to Machiavelli, morality isn't worthless. It's just not the foundation of success. It's not the root of power. It's a tool, a mask you wear when it serves you. When it doesn't, you set it aside. Think of morality like armor. It might look noble. It might make you feel righteous. But in some battles, it slows you down, makes you predictable, gets you killed. That was Machiavelli's point. Not that you should abandon morality entirely, but that you should wield it, not be chained to it. The truly powerful know when to show kindness and when to show teeth. They understand when compassion wins favor and when fear commands respect. Not because they lack a heart, but because they recognize this harsh truth: people don't respond to goodness. They respond to strength. And real-world strength doesn't come from purity. It comes from perception, from knowing what role to play, what image to project, and when. So when you walk into a room, heart on your sleeve, believing your honesty alone will earn respect, remember this: someone else is walking in with a carefully rehearsed persona, a calculated smile, and a plan to seize control. Who do you think is walking out with the prize? Machiavelli's world, like ours, isn't built on ideals. It's built on results. You can have the noblest intentions in the world, but if you don't know how to navigate the game, you'll be nothing more than a piece for someone else to move. He saw virtue as performance, not because he dismissed values, but because he understood that survival must come first. You can't protect others if you're powerless. You can't defend what's right if you're crushed by what's wrong. That's why his advice wasn't evil, it was pragmatic. He wasn't leading people astray, he was forcing them to wake up. He was saying, stop confusing what should be with what is. Because in this world, victory doesn't come to those who are the most moral. It comes to those who know when to hide their morality and when to use it as leverage. You think your goodness speaks for itself? Machiavelli would laugh. He'd tell you the world isn't listening. It's watching. Watching who holds power, who pulls strings, who isn't afraid to get their hands dirty. Morality isn't dead, but it's not leading. It follows behind strategy, behind perception, behind the instinct to survive. Fail to understand this, and you're not noble. You're naive. There are truths about the world that most people prefer not to face. Not because these truths are wrong, but because they're uncomfortable, inconvenient, and shatter the comforting illusions we've been taught to believe. But if you want to not just survive, but thrive in a world where illusion often triumphs over integrity, you need to confront these realities head-on. First, emotions will always outweigh truth. We like to tell ourselves that facts matter that reason and logic eventually win. But human beings don't operate like that. What truly moves people isn't data or evidence, it's emotion. Fear, hope, anger, loyalty. These are the levers of influence. Those who understand how to manipulate these feelings can shape decisions, win battles, even lead nations regardless of whether their words are true. Just look around. Political speeches, marketing campaigns, viral influencers, they don't sell truth. They sell belief. They craft stories that make people feel something. Because people aren't searching for truth. They're searching for something that makes them feel secure, hopeful, validated. Machiavelli grasped this centuries ago. In The Prince, he didn't advise rulers to be virtuous, only to appear virtuous when it benefited them. If you stubbornly cling to truth while others sell illusions that feel better, you'll be left behind. Second laws exist to control the weak. The strong understand when and how to bend them. We grow up believing laws are sacred, designed to protect fairness and justice. But in reality, laws exist primarily to keep the majority in line. Those in power exploit loopholes. They write exceptions. They negotiate behind closed doors. They pay fines that are pocket change to them and walk away unscathed. Laws don't apply equally. They never have. This doesn't mean you should be reckless or criminal. It means you need to recognize how the game is really played. If you cling blindly to every rule, while others maneuver in the gray areas, you're playing a different game entirely and losing it. Machiavelli never advocated cruelty for the sake of it. He advocated strategy. When your survival is at stake, rigid morality can become a liability. Flexibility, adaptability, and discretion often matter more. Third power is a performance. Most people don't even realize there's a stage. The ones who rise aren't always the smartest or the most capable. They're the best performers. They understand how to fill a room with presence, how to exude confidence, charisma, authority, even when they're deeply insecure behind closed doors. They recognize that authenticity, while admirable, isn't always enough. Power is perception. If you don't control how others see you, you'll constantly be playing defense while others shape the narrative, bend the truth, and manipulate appearances. Sincerity without strategy often becomes a weakness. That's why those who play dirty tend to survive. Not because they're inherently evil, but because they understand the rules of the performance. They know when to hide their intentions, when to reveal their strength, and when to strike. They don't show every card. They don't trust too easily. They don't wait around hoping to be rewarded for virtue. They create their own opportunities by controlling perception. Yes, these truths are hard to swallow. But deep down, you've seen them in action. You've watched less qualified people climb higher. You've seen charm outrank competence. You've felt the system was tilted, and it is. This isn't a call to become ruthless. It's a call to stop being naive. The world doesn't reward purity. It rewards those who understand how to use virtue as a mask when it's useful. The most successful people master this performance. They build empires not through honesty alone, but through timing, deception, and careful calculation, all while appearing noble. Let's be honest, the most powerful people in the world didn't get there because they were kind, fair, or honest. They got there because they mastered when to bend the truth, when to perform, and when to betray quietly, efficiently. High-level success isn't just about talent or hard work. It's about control. Control of perception, control of narrative, control of timing. Look at those who've risen to the top, and you'll see this pattern repeat. Consider Steve Jobs. To the world, he's remembered as a visionary genius, the man who gave us the iPhone, the Mac, Pixar, a revolutionary. But those who worked closely with him tell a different story. Jobs was manipulative. He had what people called a reality distortion field. The uncanny ability to twist perception, to deny facts, to make people believe in something that didn't exist yet. He took credit for others' ideas. He humiliated employees. He was unpredictable, controlling, and ruthless in business. Yet he was revered because he knew how to perform. He cultivated an image of brilliance, of rebellion, of perfection. He didn't succeed because he was always right. He succeeded because he made people believe he was. Machiavelli would have applauded. A leader doesn't need to be good, only to appear good when it serves him. Now consider a more polarizing example, Vladimir Putin. Whether you admire him or despise him is irrelevant. What matters is how he plays the power game. Putin didn't rise through kindness or popularity. He rose through control, manipulation, and ruthless strategy. From his KGB beginnings to ruling Russia for decades, he mastered not just the art of gaining power, but of keeping it. He controls media. He crushes opposition. He secures loyalty through fear and reward. And yet to millions, he appears strong, decisive, even noble. Why? Because he controls the narrative. While others follow the rules, he writes them. Putin demonstrates the darker side of Machiavelli's advice, not just the illusion of virtue, but the weaponization of fear. He once said, "If you push a rat into a corner, it will fight to the death." That's how he views politics, not as cooperation, but survival. And he's still in power. What do these two figures share? Their success didn't happen in spite of their manipulations. It happened because they understood when and how to use them. Jobs inspired through illusion. Putin dominates through fear. Both mastered perception and turned it into a weapon. So ask yourself, honestly, are you losing because you lack ability, or because you refuse to accept what winners are willing to do? Most people are taught to play fair, to be liked, to speak the truth. But those who rise to the top, they learned how to wear masks, how to conceal their motives, how to act decisively when others hesitate. This isn't about becoming evil. It's about recognizing that honesty alone won't guarantee victory. Because in the games that matter most, business, politics, even personal relationships, truth doesn't always win. Strength wins, strategy wins, timing wins. Playing dirty doesn't make you a villain. It makes you someone the world can't ignore. Let's clarify what this means. Playing dirty doesn't mean cruelty for its own sake. It doesn't mean becoming heartless or ruthless just to prove a point. It means doing what others fear to do. It means understanding that survival, especially in a cutthroat world, sometimes demands choices that look ugly on the surface. Sometimes survival means saying no. You've been there, someone asks for help and, it'll cost you peacetime energy. But you help anyway, because you don't want to seem selfish, because you want to be liked. That's noble, but it's also a trap. Smart people know you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't save everyone. Sometimes the strongest move is stepping away, protecting your peace, disappointing others so you don't destroy yourself. Sometimes survival means wearing a mask. You don't like your boss, your coworker, your client, but you smile anyway. You know someone's lying, but you pretend not to notice. You act soft while planning your next move. Is that fake, maybe? But it's also smart. Because power doesn't go to the most honest person, it goes to the one who knows when to reveal, when to conceal. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good and use this knowledge when necessary." He wasn't saying you must become bad. He was saying understand the option. Keep it in your pocket. Use it when the stakes are high. The harsh reality is, this playing dirty is often just another word for playing smart. In politics, in business, even in personal relationships, the people who win aren't always the ones who play fair. They're the ones who understand that the game itself isn't fair. They're the ones who adapt, who read the room, who know when to bend and when to break, just enough to slip through the cracks. They don't feel guilty for saying no. They don't hesitate to feign weakness to lure in their opponents. They don't reveal their true intentions until the exact moment it benefits them most. And here's the crucial part, they don't see this as evil. They see it as necessary. Because if the world rewards outcomes, not intentions, why cling to a strategy that leaves you empty-handed? Why lose with honor when you can win with awareness? This is the shift. Machiavelli demands not to become a villain, but to stop pretending that goodness alone will carry you to victory. Being too kind, too open, too trusting isn't always a virtue. Sometimes it's a liability. Sometimes doing the right thing means doing the thing that feels wrong on the surface, not because you wish harm on others, but because you refuse to let yourself be destroyed in a game you never chose. So the next time someone claims that playing dirty is immoral, ask them this: is it immoral to protect yourself in a rigged system? Is it wrong to learn how others play and match their moves? Or is it simply wise? In the end, the smartest players aren't usually the ones shouting about their principles. They're the ones observing quietly, moving strategically, striking not from anger, but from precision. They don't waste energy trying to convince the world of their goodness. They use their energy to survive, to thrive, to win. So yes, these truths are uncomfortable. They force you to reevaluate everything you've been taught about how the world works. But deep down, you already know they're true. You've watched as charm outshines competence. You've felt it in the unfair promotions, the undeserved praise, the victories handed to those who knew how to manipulate perception better than you did. This isn't about surrendering to cynicism. It's about opening your eyes. Because the world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards those who understand how to turn goodness into a mask. Which brings us to the most difficult question of all. Will you be the honest loser or the masked survivor? Let's stop pretending. The world isn't a meritocracy. It rewards perception control and timing. It rewards those who learn how to read the game and move first. Think about it: the kindest person in the room rarely ends up holding the power. The most generous employee often gets overlooked. The most honest player is typically the first to be pushed aside. Why? Because kindness without caution is dangerous. Because walking into a world of masks, wearing your heart on your sleeve, is like stepping onto a battlefield without armor. But here's the dilemma: you don't want to lose your soul. You don't want to become cold, ruthless, or unrecognizable. So what's the answer? You learn to protect it. You keep your principles, but you don't display them for everyone to see. You safeguard your humanity by keeping it hidden from those who would exploit it. Because whether you like it or not, some people will weaponize your empathy. They will turn your honesty into a weakness. This is the world Machiavelli understood. He wasn't telling you to become a monster. He was telling you to survive among them. He knew that playing nice won't stop betrayal, won't shield you from politics or power games. In The Prince, he writes, "A ruler who always keeps his word and is always good will not survive among so many who are not." It's a brutal truth, but not a hopeless one. Because you don't have to become evil, you just need to recognize evil when it's around you. You need to understand when to speak and when silence offers more protection, when to give and when giving costs you too much, when to trust and when to pretend. Survival today isn't just about staying alive. It's psychological, it's social, it's strategic. Your choice isn't between being good or bad. It's between being naively good or being wise enough to step back, observe, and protect yourself. You can still care. You can still love. You can still stand for something that matters. But you do it from behind the armor, from a place of strength, not sacrifice. Because the people who last, the people who make a difference, aren't always the loudest or the purest. They're the ones who understand the system, adapt to it, and play the game without losing themselves in it. So here you are faced with the final question: will you be the honest loser, bloodied, broke, betrayed, but noble? Or will you be the quiet player who watched, learned, survived, and changed the game from within? The world doesn't care how real you are. It cares how well you perform. It rewards those who endure, who adapt, who strike with precision when it matters most. Don't lose your humanity. Just learn when to show it and when to keep it hidden. Because in a world full of masks, maybe the most honest thing you can do is wear one too. Your move?